welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma and I am back to do a 5-star prediction video. Much like the other video that you probably saw the week before if you watched my videos, I just want to let you know I have a fire alarm that is beeping because it's out of batteries and I just haven't replaced it yet, so if you hear it, that's what that annoying beeping is. I'm hoping the camera won't pick up on it because it's near my washer, and when I wash clothes when I make videos you can't hear it, but who knows. So I am here to do my 5-star prediction video. I don't know if anyone else does their 5 stars like this. I'm guessing people do, but I did choose to pick my predictions by putting them into categories. So every book behind me fits into a category of some sort, and that is how I picked my 5-star predictions. I have a thrillers, a contemporary, a romance, an out of my comfort zone, a young adult, a wild card, and then a sleeper pick. And I'll explain what the wild card and sleeper pick are and how they are different. But yeah, let's get started. The first category I chose a 5-star prediction for was the mystery and thriller section. So any book that falls into a mystery, thriller. I probably could have put paranormal in here too, but I don't think this book hits paranormal. I'm not 100% sure. But I chose The Guest List by Lucy Foley. So I don't know a lot about The Guest List. I really like many other people, to go into my thrillers with as little information as humanly possible. So what I do know about this book is that I believe it takes place on an island and a wedding. I did choose to put this book on my list though because it does kind of fall into some of my favorite thriller tropes. I really like thrillers and mysteries that take place in one location over like a short period of time, whether it's a day or a few days. Like books that take place in like hotels or on remote islands or things like that. And it also just kind of gives me the vibe of like Clue, the movie Clue, and I don't know, I think it's gonna be really good, and I've heard good things about it. I've never read anything by Lucy Foley. I believe that this is not her debut. I think she has a decent amount out. But yeah, that is my mystery and thriller pick for my 5 stars. The second category I have for my 5-star predictions are books that are out of my comfort zone. So typically I choose to read romance, contemporary, and mystery thrillers. I'm not a huge fantasy person. I'm not a huge sci-fi person. I'm not a huge, there's another book that's, like Greek mythology. I'm not even really a big retelling person. I have a decent amount of books though that are out of my comfort zone on my shelf. And for my 5-star prediction of those books, I chose The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So if you don't know what this book is about, from what I understand, it's about a girl who basically has become immortal, but the like catch to being immortal is the fact that when she meets someone, right after she meets them, they're gonna forget her. So when she meets person A, she can have a whole conversation with person A, but as soon as she walks away, person A will forget her, which I just thought was such an interesting concept for a book. And it also gives me vibes of the movie with Blake Lively. I think it's called like Adeline or Adeline or something like that. But I love that movie, or The Age of Adeline, I think is actually what it's called. That's what I believe it's called. But that is just what this book gives me vibes of, and I'm actually very intrigued. I do think that it kind of falls under like a fantasy type book. I think that's what V.E. Schwab is also very much known for, but I'm very interested in reading it, and I've also heard mixed reviews, but some of the positive reviews I've heard have been from people who don't typically read that style, so I'm very intrigued by that as well. The next category on my list is romance. I typically love a good romance. I'm very into them. This book I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to be a romance, but I did go on to Goodreads and I found that it is the highest like shelf that people have, like the most amount of people have shelved it on this bookshelf thing on Goodreads for them. So for that I chose Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. From what I understand about Honey Girl, it is about a girl who has just graduated with her PhD in like astrology or something, or astronomy. Maybe it's astronomy. Astronomy sounds a little more correct. And she goes to Vegas and she marries another woman, and then I think they move to like a small town or something like that. Why is small town sticking out? Does it say it's a small town? Yeah, I believe she goes to like Portland, Maine from New York. I don't know if Portland's really considered a small town, and I'd heard a lot of people like talking about it in wrap-ups, kind of describing it as like a coming of age, finding yourself journey, but I've also seen it shelved on a lot of romance shelves on Goodreads, so I am going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it is a romance book. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I still think it's going to be 5 stars. It sounds really good to me, but I am very excited to get to Honey Girl. So the next category I had on my 5-star prediction categories was a contemporary, and I wanted a contemporary that didn't feel very romance based. I brought a lot of the contemporaries I do read are romance based. So I ended up choosing I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Segal. I believe this has been on a Wheel of TBR in the past, and I just never got to it, which is really weird because I'm very intrigued by this book. So I'm very intrigued by this book. From what I understand, it's about two girls, not 4 girls, one who's black and one who's white, and either like a shooting happens or a riot happens, and it's at a school football game, and basically they band together to survive the night. And there's a lot going on, there's chaos, and it's 2 people who don't really know each other, but they have to rely on one another to make it through the night, and it just sounds really good to me, really interesting. I chose that as my contemporary 5-star prediction for round 2 of 5-star predictions. Alright, so I'm really sorry if my camera angle has changed drastically, but I like bumped my tripod and the height it was at changed, so I had to kind of guesstimate it. And I'm also sorry if I'm blurry. It just seems to be going in and out of focus, which is a little annoying, but I also can't tell if it's because I'm not wearing my glasses. But anyways, the next category in my 5-star prediction video was young adult. This book, like the first time I saw it in Barnes & Noble, it screamed to me, and I'm really excited about it, and it is Dear Haiti, Love Elaine. So this book is about a girl named Elaine who, I believe she gets into some trouble and has to spend the summer in Haiti with some extended family that she doesn't really know, and I think she learns a lot about life by doing that, and it sounds really good. When I was in high school, we spent a lot of time in my French classes learning about Haiti, and I've always wanted to learn even more about it, so I'm really excited to kind of get to read this book and learn about it, and it just sounds really interesting. It also is a book that is told kind of like both in paragraph forms, but also like email and IMs and that kind of form, which is also pretty interesting to me. I do like books that have that, and they also make them a little bit easier to read because you can get through some pages quicker that way. So the next category I had on my 5-star prediction category list was a wild card. This book, what I meant by wild card was a book that I don't know exactly what category to put it into. I think this one maybe could fall into historical fiction, but I've also seen people put it under contemporary because it has like a contemporary writing style. But this book was also featured in my 2021 Books on My Radar series because I found it on a list while I was doing it, and I happened to pick it up at Barnes & Noble recently, so it gets to be on this video, and that is The Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. So from what I understand about this book, it is about a young woman who is a acrobat, I believe, and she goes on the Titanic to try to convince her brother who is working on the Titanic to rejoin the family business, I believe. I love anything that has to do with the Titanic. I'm actually not a huge fan of like the James Cameron movie, The Titanic, but I just find that time frame a really interesting one to learn about. So I was very intrigued to see this one. And I think it's also going to be a little bit of a heartbreaking book because it takes place on the Titanic, and we all know what happened on the Titanic. If you don't, I don't know how. I feel like Titanic a very historical time in history, but I am just super intrigued, and I just have an amazing, amazing gut feeling about this one. Also, I picked this up on like the book talk table at my local Barnes & Noble. So I had no idea that this was big on book talk. I dabble in book talk, I guess, but I've never seen anyone talk about this. So I guess if it's a book that is on book talk, it probably is really good too. All right, and then the final category I had for my 5-star predictions categories was a sleeper pick. This actually almost didn't make it into my categories. I was sitting on my closet floor, which is where I store all of my unread books, and I saw this book that I ended up getting on Book Outlet, but I have literally seen this book since I was like 14 or 15 years old. The title has stuck in my mind since I was 14 or 15 years old, and at this point I don't really remember what it's about anymore, and I never hear anyone talk about it. So I chose The Dead Enders by Erin Salden as my sleeper pick for this. But basically how I decided to define sleeper pick for my category was a book that no one seems to be talking about. I haven't heard good reviews or bad reviews. I just know nothing about it, but I could see it kind of being that book that I pick up and I'm like, I don't know anything about it, and then it ends up being a 5-star. I do know, I believe it has at least trigger warnings for suicide because there is the suicide hotline number in the back of the book, but that is literally all I know about this book at this point. Also, it's a young adult book because when I was 14 and 15, I definitely was only looking in the young adult section of the bookstore. So I do know it is a young adult book as well. But other than that, I know literally nothing about that book, and I just have a gut feeling that it's going to be a 5-star. So here they are, my 5-star predictions for round 2 of 5-star predictions. It is The Dead Enders, Luck of the Titanic, Dear Haiti Love Elaine, I'm Not Dying With You Tonight, Honey Girl, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and The Guest List. I like my last 5 stars. I do plan to vlog my experience reading them. If you're watching this and you like reading vlogs, I've thought of doing it one of 2 ways. Either I do like just a reading vlog and it goes out, or I make the vlog part shorter and I bring it in to my 5-star wrap up when I finish all these books, because I will finish all these books and we will get a wrap up for round 2. I promise. I really promise. But yeah, my camera's blinking that I'm almost out of space. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. And let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought. Bye, Worlders. Pick my Hold on, I gotta move. I hate this chair. I don't know where I was going with that. It's I'm not gonna talk about that because I'm not 100% sure if that's correct. And now I'm fuzzy. I'm blurry again. I have to turn my fan off. My house doesn't have air conditioning and it's hot. Hair stuck there. Pick to win for, or not pick to win, what?